All righty. Good evening, everyone. How's it going?
Good.
Hey,
Good.
good.
All right. So tonight, January 4th, we are doing a second house watch because tomorrow is the start of the 107th legislature, the second session. So that will run from January 5th until April 20th. It's the short session, so it's 60 calendar days that they have scheduled. Tonight, we just wanted to do kind of a briefing of some of the legislation that we're planning on keeping an eye on or looking at this upcoming legislative session. We also wanted to do a quick review of some of the rule changes they have as far as submitting testimony and testifying goes. So I have co-organizers Cindy and Kristen here with me. How are y'all doing tonight?
Good.
Good. Do you have a good holiday?
I did. Yeah.
It was too busy, but it was good. No complaints.
Awesome. Okay, so first, I think we'll go over some of the legislation that we were kind of keeping our eye on. Cindy, did you want to start us off with the public education and property tax legislation?
Sure. I don't really have a lot of the details yet because it's not been introduced, obviously, but it's exciting to think that there could be a solution here at the legislature for our property tax and school funding issue. They're intertwined, those two topics. And one of the things that we're finding here in our state is that if we can't relieve the needs for the schools to be fully funded, because we've not been meeting those needs for many years now, then the dollars come from property tax. And if we can help kind of reset and fully fund our schools, it will not only be good for the schools so they can count on their budgets for the year, but it'll also be good for taxpayers and that they
Definitely.
can, have some relief. So,
And this is Senator Walls.
yeah, she was recently on Nebraska Public Media with Senator Linehan, Senator Hilgers, with both of them. And actually, we could put it, I'll find the link and I'll put it in the chat box. It was a really good interview that they had on Nebraska Public Media. And one of the things they talked about was this particular legislation that she's bringing. And I am hoping that the senators will seriously consider this. And I'm sure there'll be some amendments and back and forth. But if we could get this solution through, I think it would just be great for all the schools across the state, as well as property taxpayers.
For sure, for
Mhm.
sure. So we'll definitely be keeping our eye out for that and looking forward to actually being able to read through that bill once it comes out. We'll keep everybody updated on
Yeah.
that. Kristen, did you want to go ahead and you had two different legislations you were going to discuss, right?
Yeah. So the first is the epic consumption tax, and that Senator Erdman is introducing this again this session. This did make it out of a committee last year, but it didn't make it out of general file. So he's trying again. And this is a really big deal, and we oppose it. But to explain, it would make all kinds of taxes that we're used to paying unconstitutional, essentially, in Nebraska. So that means no income tax, no corporate tax, no property tax, inheritance, all of that. And that would be replaced with a consumption tax. And that consumption tax would be much higher than we're sort of used to paying in sales tax. It'd be 10.6%, and it would apply to all new goods and services. And also, apply to some things that we aren't used to paying tax on, like groceries, food, healthcare, prescription drugs. So it would definitely negatively affect our seniors and our retirees who have paid income tax their whole life, and then they are large consumers of healthcare. And I could chat about this for a while, but I'll try to hit the highlights. So on the surface, this would be problematic because it's a flat tax, and that's a regressive tax, and it imposes an undue burden on our low-income individuals and families in Nebraska. But what Senator Erdman is trying to do to get around the regressivity of the package is imposing a prebate or an allowance. And that would be equal to the tax rate times the federal poverty level. And that would actually be deposited into all the citizens' bank accounts at the beginning of each month. So for a family of 4, that would look like about $200 per month. And that would be to make up for the additional tax that they would spend on, or that they would have to pay on all of their spending. So, and it's also only applicable to citizens. So it would be discriminatory against those that are living and, working in Nebraska that aren't citizens. So it's all around, not a good thing. I looked at the number of votes that it got last session, and it was too shy of advancing out of general file. And I know there is a concerted effort to try to sway more senators to support this plan. But I do think some senators were potentially just getting it out on the floor for the debate. So hopefully it's not has much of a real serious chance of passing.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. We will definitely keep our eyes on that. A couple of pieces of legislation that I wanted to talk about was Senator Hunt spoke at a press conference today about some bills that she was going to introduce, as well as one that she already introduced last session in order to help expand access towards reproductive care, abortion. So the one that she introduced last session that she plans on trying to continue to push this session is LB 276. And what that would do is it would repeal the ban on telemedicine for abortions. So like, for example, if somebody's going to do an abortion where like all they have to do is take a pill, right now it's required that the doctor is in the room, and they have a complete ban on telemedicine for abortion care. So she has legislation introduced that would repeal that ban. And then she said that she's going to introduce 2 new pieces of legislation that would expand access to abortion care. One of the bills would require or would remove the requirement that providers have to purchase additional insurance in order to be able to provide abortions. And then the second piece of legislation that she said she's going to introduce would modify the provider requirements to. Oh, okay. So it would expand who can provide abortions. So rather than the doctor having to be in the room, some of the more advanced healthcare workers that are capable of doing what needs to be done, that would be expanded so that they could provide those services. Of course, the study groups supports reproductive rights and access. So we would most likely be supporting these pieces of legislation when Senator Hunt introduces them. The second thing I wanted to touch base on was Senator McKinney and Senator Wayne have opened up, they're calling it the North Omaha, show a thing here of it. So they're calling it the North Omaha Recovery Plan. And it discusses money that we'll be getting from COVID and how we should legislate that and put it into action. I do apologize. I downloaded the plan today after Senator McKinney had shared it. And it's too big for me to have gotten through all of today. But the website is it just North Omaha? Let me double check here. northomaha2022.com. So you can definitely go in there and check that out. It talks about expanding, from briefly what I saw, it talks about this $400 million and how they'll put it towards expanding housing, expanding mental health, and really helping address the systemic problems that we see here in North Omaha, as well as treat the symptoms of it. So it's a all over plan. Um, so I wanted to share that so that we could have an idea of what to look forward to with them introducing that. And we will be watching, of course, all together how COVID money is spent, right? But that, and then also with the budget. And speaking of the budget, there's also the prison bill that we've been following. So that's where they basically just tried to put money into the budget for a new prison. The ACLU and other nonprofits, and grassroots organizations like us, opposed the building of a new prison. And so what they decided was that they would set aside some money until and do like an investigation and see what all was the best path to move forward when it comes to our overcrowded prison system. So we should be looking forward to seeing what evolves from that this session, and being sure that we continue to oppose a new prison. Obviously, we'll want to look at what those reports say. And the ACLU did publish a report earlier, or the end of last month or sometime last month. It was like a 5-year study on the correctional facilities and overcrowding. So we'll make sure to share that to look into. But another thing that we'll keep our eye open on is how we actually handle that prison reform and what we do about the overcrowded prison system. So, do y'all
I'd like
have
to
anything to
say, Angie, just on that note, I think it's really important that we try to help remind our senators that no matter what happens and which direction they go, as far as like a separate building or a new building, is to reduce how many people we have in prison. And how obviously we want to prevent people from ending up there. But if there are people that could be, that we need to help so that they can, move on. I
Yeah.
just think that this whole prison population system is a systemic problem, and one that I think a lot of senators need to understand that we want them to handle.
Yeah, for sure. And I haven't had the opportunity to read over the report that um, so it's called Nebraska's State House to Prison Pipeline, and it's an analysis of the last 5 years of legislative activity on criminal legal policy and corresponding prison trends. So the ACLU published that, and I haven't had the opportunity to read through it yet. It's actually on my reading list for tonight. So yeah, I think that that'll be interesting. I also think we've kind of heard different stories as far as like what this is for. Um, Initially, I'm trying to think of his name. I'm sorry, I'm off. Initially, he was saying that it was going to be in addition to NSP. And then he was saying, well, no, it's just going to kind of uh, replace it, but then we'll still utilize that facility a little bit. And now he's saying, well, no, we're going to replace it. So like the plan isn't even consistent and never has been with what they say they want to do with the money. So hopefully we can look at the study brought out by the ACLU and by the committee of the legislature and actually figure out, a whole problem or the whole problem and see what solutions we need to it. Because right now I think they just want more money to like build more prisons, and I'm like, that's not a solid plan. So, but it's the governor's plan. Okay, so moving along, we wanted to go over the speakers. I'm going to share.
I had one more bill, Angie. I wanted
Oh,
to.
shoot! I'm
to go
sorry.
over.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go for it.
That's okay. I got a little caught up in the tax, the consumption tax. But the other one on my list was the permitless concealed carry bill that Senator Brewer will be introducing. It's similar to he had to his bill last session. That got held up by the attorney general's, I guess, adverse opinion kind of late in the game. The difference between what he will be introducing this year versus last year was that it was going to be up to the counties to decide if they could, if they would allow their people that live there to not get a permit for concealed carry. And that was applicable to every county in Nebraska except the three most populous, so Douglas, Sarpy, and Lancaster. But the attorney general thought that that would be unconstitutional for the counties to have the authority to decide on a matter that's sort of a state level matter. So that was kind of a short-sighted win for kind of the gun safety folks. But because they ended up turning it into safe storage change to the law, which is great. We definitely support safe storage laws for responsible gun ownership. But this year, how it's different is going to apply to the entire state. So counties don't have the option to opt in or opt out. It's just the entire state would be, there wouldn't be a permit required in order to conceal carry a handgun. And kind of the problem with that, or I guess our position with that is that the kind of current requirements for obtaining a concealed carry permit are focused on safety, and they include 8 to 16 hours of gun safety training, a background check. It's $100 fee to help fund kind of that training. So it's just not that much to ask for people to walk in public and carrying kind of loaded weapons. And also you have to be 21. So if this were to pass and you didn't have to have a permit to conceal carry, then essentially 18-year-olds would be able to do that legally in public spaces. So that will be something that we're definitely gonna be watching closely, but kind of hoping that the legislature will be preoccupied with deciding how to spend all the COVID money, and the clock will kind of run out on this bill, is my hope, at least.
Yeah, I have a feeling they're going to spend quite a bit of discussion on how to spend the COVID money. Okay, and then also I wanted to just remind folks that we do have 2 initiatives or like petitions going around right now that the study group is supporting, and that is the minimum wage initiative to raise minimum wage in the state of Nebraska to $15 an hour, and then the second one is it's actually 2 different petitions that you have to sign, but it's in order to legalize marijuana. So I'm not sure. I haven't signed the minimum wage initiative one yet. I need to get to that. I know that there's a lot of different groups working on it. And I think that we were going to get a petition out at Shealytown, but I haven't seen one yet. Have you all seen one? I want to kind of try to direct folks where to sign, but I need to look.
I signed it at a League of Women Voter event.
Okay.
There was someone there that was sharing. So I think it can be found through, isn't it listed with like noise?
I need to
information listed, or
I need to look for sure. So we will definitely double check on that and get that information out to folks.
Yeah.
And then the legalized marijuana petition, those are going around. A few people have them. I'm aware that you can come out to Shealytown and sign them. That's off of 36th and Center. So I'm not sure again. So we'll get those links to those actual organizations and the dates that they're signing, and we'll make sure to share them on both our public page and then also with our membership so that folks can get those signed. When I checked the Secretary of State website for different initiatives, there's actually several that have been registered right now, some of them not so great. So we will continue to watch those. But for now, as far as membership in the group, the ones that we are for sure supporting is that minimum wage initiative and the legalized marijuana one. So my notes. Oh, okay. So now we wanted to go over, let me share my screen here. We wanted to go over the Speaker Hilger's announcement for the procedural modifications. So I was just going to pull up. Okay.
Do you want me to talk
go.
about that?
Yeah, I think. Sorry, I was getting to the screen. So I think for the most part, the stuff that mostly pertains to our members is in the first section where it talk or in the section for balcony usage where it talks about people being admitted. So basically the members of the legislature who have been directly exposed to COVID-19, they'll participate from the east balcony. So then that will open up the north and south balconies for the public and members of the media. So as far as being able to visit the legislature or view the legislature, those balconies will be open to the public. And then the second part that I think mostly pertains to our membership is underneath the submission of testimony. And so that basically says that written testimony was discontinued, which that written testimony is from like, it was discontinued last session, right, Cindy? And that was that where mostly nonprofit organizations or different organizations utilized it was to go in like an hour before session started and drop off that written testimony that had to be written in a certain way. And so that's been discontinued.
There
But it
were
was
a lot of us regular Nebraskans, everyday Nebraskans that used that as well because it was a way to try to participate fully in the committee hearing with the inclusion in the transcript.
yeah, I think it was
To keep our
mostly set
families
up.
safe. But
I think
that
it was
was actually
mostly
just
set up for organizations though, right?
no, it was for everyday Nebraskans. We actually called and worked with the speaker's office to get the information shared because it had originally just been shared with the lobbyists.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah. But
yeah.
they discontinued it 2 days or a few days before the redistricting special session.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's not actually new from the redistricting session. I think the second one is the submission of public comments to the online bill database will continue. And that is so when you go on to Nebraska legislature dot what is it org or the website, and you can go to the bills and then you can submit those online comments. So they're going to continue with those online comments. The change is that we now submit it to there instead of the committee members' emails, right, Cindy?
Yes. Yes.
So
Actually,
initially, we would email if we wanted our testimony entered into the public record, we would email the committee chair. Then last session, it went over to they changed it to where we would email the committee email. And now this session, they're changing it to we will submit it online.
yes. In fact, I think there's some I'm hoping that streamlining this process is actually going to be good for Nebraskans, everyday Nebraskans, so that they can have a consistent way to share their views and interact with the senators about their values and what the priorities are with these bills. The difference between the online comments and the ones that would be included as an exhibit to the public record for a committee hearing is that you would need to submit it prior to noon the last business day or working day before the committee hearing. And you'll have they don't have it yet online for us to show, but it sounds like there'll be a checkbox that you can say, yes, please include this as a part of the record for the hearing. And it's not going to be in the transcript, but it will be as an added exhibit that's available to senators. I found out that there are packets produced for the members of committees when they come to hear a certain bill. So they would receive it then. And then it sounds like any senator would have access to it when they consider the bill, that they can look it up. And so that streamlined process will hopefully be good as far as making it easy for Nebraskans. But I think, Angie, you and I talked about how we really want to stress to people that they need to also
Yeah.
put that information directly to their senator, the introducer of the bill, and the committee members.
Yeah. So, I agree with you that it would be nice to streamline it, and make it easier for folks. I struggle because, for one, they're not being consistent in how we testify. Like, and it goes beyond changing COVID. I mean, the emails and how they submit online stuff, that has nothing to do with COVID, how they accept online stuff. Um, so I don't like the fact that every session it feels like we're having to give our membership and the public new rules on how they can submit that testimony. I wish that they would come up with something more consistent, because, educating takes a lot of time. So, and then the more confusing it gets, the less likely people are to take action. So I think that that's a blockage towards, the public and the second house. And then I worry about, we already know that a lot of times our state legislatures or our representatives as a whole, kind of ignore us or kind of blow off the public or the second house, especially when they disagree with us. So I think that one of the ways that we get their attention is to be able to kind of clog up their emails or clog up their phone lines. And I feel like this is a way that just will kind of surpass all of us onto this online system that they can then easily choose to ignore. So if we have something that we really need to, make sure that they understand that we're for or against, I feel like it creates more action steps for people to take in order to ensure that their voices are heard. And I always struggle to support something that creates more effort in order for the public to be heard. So I think that there's definitely, pluses and minuses to this.
Yeah, Angie, yeah, totally agree. And I like that, when you send your letter to the committee and to your senator, the week before, or, if you're on top of things, then that they have a chance to read it, kind of be going into the hearing rather than just seeing kind of everything when they get their packet right there when the hearing starts.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like the bill will be available for public comment, online comment, when it is introduced and sent and referred, and then there's a committee hearing set. And that's always 7 days out. So we will have that week period, but it is true, if you're submitting it online, I learned last time, unless they change the system and we haven't seen what it's going to look like for these new bills, when you would write this out and send it, it would just be sent. And like what you wrote, I found that I wanted to actually copy it, and then I would email it to my senator, because I wanted to also know exactly what I thought about the bill at the time, because a lot of bills change, right? They go through the committee process, then it's sent to general file, then you have all the amendments, and so by the time you get to actual final debate, sometimes the bill has changed so much, and I would like to be able to kind of see where I started with my position on a bill. So I'm hoping that the technical people at the legislature can kind of tweak their online submission process so that it isn't so opaque.
Yeah.
It's my 2 cents.
Yeah. And I think, one of the things that we do here at the study group is remind everyone that we are the second house. We talk about we have a unicameral in one house, but that means in the unicameral, in the actual legislative chambers, there is nonpartisan one house, but the way that the unicameral is set up is for checks and balances so that we are the second house. And that's one of the reasons, that I love the unicameral, is because we have the ability for those public hearings. We have the ability to, be kind of a checks and balance, and it's going to be, what's happening in the legislature is more transparent than it can be in a bicameral, and we do have more of a say. So, yeah, I appreciate it, but we also know that there are definitely barriers, and that there are, unfortunately, legislatures that choose not to listen to people they disagree with. So, yeah, we're just always going to continue to advocate to make sure that our voices, the public voice, is heard and given given the voice that we deserve in our government. Um, Speaking of that a little bit, let's review our upcoming events that we wanted to let folks know about. Let me pull them up here so I can give times and dates. So, tomorrow, obviously, we start the legislative session, and that begins at 10 in the morning. Correct, Cindy?
Yep.
But tomorrow during the day, kind of throughout the whole day, the Nonpartisan Nebraska is having an event because tomorrow is George Norris Day. George Norris, for those who may not know, is the former, well, he was like a senator, a congressman, a state legislature, a lot of things in our government. But he is the one that actually got the unicameral passed. So tomorrow is our 85th birthday for the Nebraska unicameral, and Nonpartisan Nebraska is marking that date by hosting an event tomorrow. It'll be virtually. We will live stream it on our page. They'll have it on their public page, and they'll just be interviewing different current state senators and former state legislatures, as well as Charlene, who wrote the book that we have a lending library to if anybody's
Yeah,
interested.
you can get it there.
Yeah, and some other folks. So be sure to pop in for that. On that'll be live on their page, and then we also have. I actually just got notified of this event today and thought it was great, considering we were just discussing Senator Hunt's press conference and the abortion bills that we'll be having going through. So if folks are interested, IB Black Girl is hosting an event. You can find it on Facebook and through social media. And that is Wednesday, January 5th at noon. It's an online event, so make sure you check out their social media and get registered for that. And then we also wanted to acknowledge that the College of St. Mary's, as well as they have lots of co-sponsors, or Civic Nebraska, Women's Fund, Justice Choir. I have to squint I don't have my contacts in. But so several folks are hosting on January 6th from 5:30 to 6:30 at the College of St. Mary's, candlelight vigil, for a day of remembrance and action of the January 6th events last year, the insurrection. So that's 5:30, January 6th, College of St. Mary's. And then the Ring the Vote Nebraska has a January statewide meeting on Thursday at 8 o'clock, where they meet virtually through Zoom. So you can go to Rank the Vote Nebraska social media and get the information for that as well. And
We also have another event on Thursday with Represent Us. It kind of coincides or is
you mean Rank the Vote has?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, well, Represent Us and some people from the League of Women Voters and some of us with Rank the Vote Nebraska are also going to be supporting the, it's also regarding kind of commemorating what happened on January 6th and saving democracy. So that event is from 5:30 to 7. And we'll put a link in the chat how to involve yourself with that as well. So there's a couple different ways that you can make sure and get involved on Thursday.
Okay, great. Look at us, 8:35, finishing early. So, okay, Kristen, did you have any final thoughts, or I want to make sure I don't rush by you?
No, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I'm excited for the legislature to open tomorrow and George Norris Day and all the online festivities.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies, for joining me tonight, and thank our members and the viewers for watching. And make sure that you get ready for tomorrow. It's going to be a interesting legislative session, and we'll keep you informed on the bills that we are following and tracking. And if anybody has any questions about how to comment or how to contact their state legislatures, please always feel free to PM us or email us. and ask any questions. We're here to help regular everyday people figure out the process because it can definitely be complex. So, all righty. Thank you, ladies. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.